So, welcome back to Foresight Dressage by the Sea. If you're just tuning in, we're live streaming the Grand Prix, CDI 3-star. We've got a competitor circling the arena, Jessica Durtell, riding a very interesting mare called Siriana. So best of luck, Jessica Durtell, riding Siriana. So welcome back to the live streaming. I've got two co-hosts in here to share the test with you this afternoon. I've got Glenys Barry and I've got Dr. Jill Rickard. They're going to give you their thoughts and opinions on this Grand Prix CDI 3-star. So very shortly about to start. Over to Jill and Glenys.
Thanks, Christine. Here we are watching Siriana. Most of you will know her as Mary Hannah's former Olympic and international horse. Mary's very kindly letting Jessica have the ride. Still listed as the owner, Mary. And of course, Siriana, beautiful horse in extended trot. Glenys.
Oh, nice straight entry too.
Yes.
I must tell you a little story. I've only been to Wollonga Park once before, and Mary actually did a test. I'm pretty sure it was on this mare. And I went and found Mary and I said, you know, normally when I look at a test, I think, oh, I could have done this and I could have done that, or maybe they could have done this, or maybe they could have done that. And I said to her, it was so nice to just sit and watch a test and say, isn't that beautiful? I said, I thoroughly enjoyed watching your test. It was elegant, it was flowing, and it was really enjoyable. I think Jessica has a huge task ahead of her, and we need to give, you know, normally we give horses time to adjust, but I think here we have to give Jessica time to adjust to riding a horse that has a lot of buttons. It'd be like me, who is so useless in front of a computer screen. I just push lots of buttons until they work, and if they don't work, I just give up and walk away. Whereas give me a horse and I feel at home. I think it's like this with Jessica. She's got that computer screen and she's thinking, holy dooly, where are these buttons? So she has a huge job ahead of her, and I wish her all the best because this horse is beautiful. I would give anything to swap seats. Good girl.
Yes, the most elegant of horses. And some little unbalanced issues occurring in both half passes that won't help her score. And then a better job throughout the passage and the piaffe. But yes, it's very early days for her to find the right buttons to press. And that was probably the problem in the half passes. Now she gets to sort of walk through the corner, think again, take a breath, let it out.
And how tricky are those half passes? You know, this horse has a massive stride on it, and it's got to get all the way across that arena to B. And you think, oh, I'm nearly there. But guess what? You've got to come all the way back again. So it's a big ask for a horse with a big stride that is really trying to get the most in its crossover. It's a big ask.
Yeah, beautiful passage there.
Yes.
And then just losing a bit here.
It's happening. Good job. Such a lovely mare. How old is Siriana?
Siri's are listed as 17, so she sure isn't showing signs of wear and tear.
No. She's a bit of a spring chicken in her gymnastic look. Nice frame.
Yeah, good quality canter. Through the short side, wind up for the twos.
Good job. Probably just sitting borderline on power level as well. I think sometimes as riders we try to sit a little bit in the middle of being safe, but not really wanting to push it a little bit too far. But when it comes to the canter work, because you know, doing that number of changes and trying to keep them straight and fit them in, we need to make sure that we have a little bit of extra power to make sure that the last group of changes where the horse is starting to think, wow, I've still got a few more to go, we have enough energy there. Oh, that's pretty tidy. Good job. I think a few times I've got in that movement and thought, oh my God, how many steps have I done? Do I have another set of 6 to put in? So this is, again, just watch the power, that you're not riding so carefully that at the end you're going to run out of petrol. So probably just needed a little bit more go to cover a bit more ground and show every bit of expression that you can on a horse with this sort of movement. Nice setup, perfectly on the centre line. Probably a tad big, but it's a tidy pirouette. It's one thing you can certainly say about Mary's horses, they are trained. They know their job, and Mary is the kind of rider, she rides for every point, and her horses would know that. I think one of my favourite horses of Mary's would still have to be Limbo. I think he and Mary had an amazing partnership. Very big extended trot, there's lots of room there, and the mare still doesn't look like she's doing all she can. I think she's still got a bit left in the tank. That passage is just lovely, isn't it? It's just like a pavlova, all light and fluffy and tastes good.
Delicious.
Nice and straight.
We like the word delicious.
Yes. And the horse is happy in the contact. Come on. Oh, I think my calves are going to be sore at the end of this. I'm helping her. Good job. Clean transitions. And nice and straight again. That C judge will be happy. Whoops, maybe a teeny wobble if you want to be fussy. Good job. Well done. For a young rider, that's just amazing. Well done.
And trending at 67.3 at the moment, which is listed as a combination best at this level. She hasn't done too many, so she'd be on Siriana. I think it's probably about number 3 or 4. And for first international. Yeah. So terrific effort. Wait for the scores. So entering the arena, the last horse in this competition, the CDI 3-star, is Suzanne Hearn and Eminent, her second ride for this competition. And we're just waiting for a score to come in for Jessica. And Jessica Durtell has scored 67.63%, a combination best, and that puts her in second place behind Robert Harrison Schmerglatt and Quando Queen on 68.23. So here we have Suzanne Hearn and Eminent. So second ride for Sue Hearn on Eminent, a horse that is by Santano, owned by Sue, ridden by Sue. and pretty new to this level, and certainly I think this is its first international competition. Not new for Sue, however. So that'll help the horse. Sue knows how to take a horse around the arena in Grand Prix and give it a good trusting ride. So we're coming to the half pass right. It's got nice crossing.
Good crossover, hey?
Fairly easy change of bend.
And he can cross over both ways and bend both ways.
Running a little bit out of impulsion
Petrol,
towards the end.
Nice on the marker. Not rushed.
No, and direct in. So
Yep. Clean
fulfilling it.
transitions.
Yeah, good job.
Do you think maybe, Jill, that Sue is just finding her way still a little bit with this horse?
Oh.
Because I think it's a very new partnership, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and I would
Yeah.
think for sure she is, as I say, I think she'll give it a confidence-building ride. Won't push it too hard,
Yeah.
and she might well be surprised though with how capable it is. And because currently she is trending on 69, so she's made a very impressive start.
Yeah. Well, she has to me as well. I've only seen a very short video clip of this horse on Facebook, and so far I'm quite impressed with what I'm seeing. He seems pretty calm. He had a little spook outside, and I thought, oh, I hope he's not going to be too electric, because Sue, there might not be a lot of Sue, but she can certainly get a tune out of a horse. So I thought, oh, I hope he's not a little bit tense, but he's not showing any of that. Well, not so far anyway. But Sue's the professional, isn't she? She just gets on with the job.
Yeah, and
Not
her,
bad.
you know, we always admire Sue for her strength in passage and piaffe.
Yes,
And
definitely.
this horse has a bit of a flair for both, I would say. And she just has to do her normal best and it'll be good.
It'll be a good blend.
Yes.
Probably just one or two steps a little bit eager forward, but she certainly got him back again. He's got a happy tail, hasn't he? Likes to participate. Probably could have been a tad more shoulder fore in that transition. He's got his hind quarter in very slightly, but he's certainly no little delicate flower. He's very substantially built, so it's a bit tricky keeping a horse like that straight. Just likes to bulge a bit out on one side. Don't look down, Sue. Good. That was the all in order. There's certainly no problem getting her to engage them, is there?
No.
She said sit, and he went, how much? Probably a little bit conservative, but again, like I said, it's a new combination, so I think she's just feeling her way a bit. Oops, that was a bit sneaky. That gateway, I think, is, he doesn't like that gateway.
No, and a little bit too sharp round the turn and into the, you know, could have gone straighter before she started the zigzag.
Yeah, that was tidy. He, I reckon he could be a bit of a tricky horse to ride. It looks like he's really learnt the trade, because sometimes he ducks a bit out through that inside leg. He's a bit quick for her. So I think Sue's really has to stay on the job.
trending now back to 67 with that mistake in the ones. Only a little mistake,
Yeah. But it doesn't
but
matter,
it's a
does it?
mistake.
Oh, come on, buddy, canter.
Yeah, and too
Just got a
small,
little
I
bit
think.
stuck, yeah. And that's where I think, you know, he's a bit clever. He thinks a little bit, maybe too much, and he says, "Oh, let's see if I can get ahead of you." Yep, just ducked in a bit behind the
Yeah.
aids again at the end. Still, it's a very presentable test. Sue looks really young in her photo up on the TV screen, doesn't she?
She is young.
That's
She's
true.
a spring chicken.
No, he covers a bit of ground. There's a bit of power in that one. A little bit more over, Sue. She's certainly keeping that power going in that passage tour.
She is. You can only mark what you can see,
Yep.
and he's certainly doing
Oh, he's got the
a
power.
powerful passage.
Yep.
And it's mostly straight. There's a little bit of swaying
Yep.
behind at the moment, but
Teeny bit.
it's not the worst thing.
Oh, no. Good job. Well done.
Keeping
Only
going
one
right
little-
up to the marker.
One little hiccup in the changes and that was it.
Yeah, good job. Just moving back up to 66. So very close class, actually, this CDI 3-star. Although there are only 5 in it, they're all between 65 and 68, and not much to split between the two.
All very different horses, though, different shapes and sizes, though. We sort of had our Barbies and our, you know, dashing white stallion look-alike, and then we've got a big solid number like him, and then in between we had our tall, elegant girls.
Yes, the girls
Interesting
were the
mix.
tall, elegant type.
Yep. It
So
shows that there's no confirmation for what makes the ideal dressage horse, does it?
No.
It's the one that learns the job.
That's right.
That's the bottom line.
So we're just waiting for a final score. And then we will have an official score and a winner. So we have a official score for Sue Hearn and Eminent. And she's managed to move up to 3rd place with 66.26%, just ahead of her other horse, Galaxy. And so overall, we have the winner of the class, Robert Harrison Schmerglatt on Quando Queen, on 68.23%. Then 2nd place, Jessica Durtell on Syriana, 67.6%. 3rd place, Sue Hearn on Eminent, 66.26. 4th place, Suzanne Hearn on Galaxy, 65.7. And 5th place, a whisper behind, Heather Curry and Istand as well, on 65.45%. Congratulations to all of those. That was a lovely class. We have a short break until the next class in the arena, which is the CDI under 25 intermediate 2, which starts at 2:55. Not long, just enough time to stand up, sit down, and we'll be ready to go again.
Hi, Terry Snow here. Welcome to Willinga Park. We're delighted that you've all been able to join us this weekend. It's a time for fun and fellowship, as well as preparing your horses and getting them going as well as can possibly be, and moving up your competition ladder. But I hope you don't take it all that seriously, that you enjoy to take a deep breath and relax. We've got fabulous gardens here for the people that aren't involved in their horses, and I'm sure you'll all have a good time. We've got good food and people here to look after you, and we hope that you have a pleasant weekend.
Stevens.
So welcome back. I'm here in the commentator's box with my two co-hosts, Jill Rickard and Glenys Barry, both very seasoned and experienced international competitors, to give you their thoughts on what we're watching here today. We are watching the CDI Under 25 Intermediaire 2 class, and over to you, Jill. You can introduce the judges.
Thanks, Christine. So today we have, for this class at E, Jane Ventura from Victoria. At C, Juan Carlos Campos Escribana from Spain. And at M, Stephen Clark from Great Britain. circling the arena at the moment. The first competitor is Dana Krause, riding Tattinger VDS. He is a 12-year-old gelding by Regardez Moi, owned and ridden by Dana.
So what are we looking at to see in this test today? Jill?
So this is the under 25s, that refers to the rider's age, and it's an intermediate 2 test. So it's a slightly different test from the standard Inter 2, but still has the same sorts of components in so the pattern will be different, but it will still have Piaffe and Passage in it. It'll have 2 tempies and 1 tempies. This is the under 25s opportunity to put their foot in the Grand Prix level. There'll be transitions between Piaffe and Passage, same as in the other test. Pirouettes. They do 7 changes of stride every second and 11 one-times.
So these tests have become very popular as an introductory level for the younger riders to ride internationally. Gives them a class of their own to gain some experience. And someone who knows all about experience is Glenys. Over to you, Glenys.
He's a big horse too, isn't he? Tall rider.
Tall rider, tall horse.
Yeah.
Good picture.
Keep the balance right. He's quite a capable horse, isn't he? He's getting the job done. Very nice for a young rider to have a horse that gets the job done too. They're a little bit like diamonds. They're a bit precious, these horses, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, Tattinger is only a 12-year-old, and he's bred here in Australia. So I don't know Dana or the horse particularly well, but certainly he's capable of doing a good job here, scoring quite nicely up until
Then
the
it's hard,
Piaffe
isn't it?
didn't
They
quite.
get a bit stuck.
Yeah, got a little bit stuck in the Piaffe. So
It's a tricky level, isn't it? Because they've gone from a bit of a cruisy St George into 1, and then suddenly it's like there's more stuff. So I think it's a really tricky level into 2. The horse has really got to get its head around the fact it's got to do more. Trying to get that power in a big horse as well is, again, experience plays a bit of a part in that. Your warm-up plays a part, and a very big part of that is your coach. You need those little exercises to get that horse firing for a test like this, where you need that Piaffe Passage. Tidy transition. Oh, that's a horrible movement, isn't it? Remember when it used to be in the Grand Prix?
yes,
And
medium
it was
canter,
left to right.
medium canter,
Worst.
flying change over X.
Yeah, bolt. Piggery.
Yes, I think you might have had a certain naughty chestnut horse that did a bit of that.
Yes, definitely.
This is a steep half pass, PX.
It is steep, isn't it? Needs a bit more petrol. Yeah, he just has to get a bit more life in him, doesn't he?
Yes, we've got to get those back legs to keep
Yep.
moving, not ground.
Yeah. Come on. It's in there. And I guess these young riders, we would have killed to have horses like this at our age. I think when I was 17, my first St George horse was the first cross-quarter horse, and it had almost no movement. So it's a tough gig to learn on horses like that. What was your first FEI horse, Jill? I can't remember.
My first one was Peaches and Cream.
Oh, wow.
Yes, who was
There you
also
go.
quarter horse, stock horse, and
Yeah.
a little bit of thoroughbred. So,
Yeah.
yes, bit of a different.
Yeah. Oh, that had more life in it. Good job. See, I don't mind seeing that sort of size pirouette. I'd rather a little bit better quality in the pirouette that's a little bit bigger than a smaller one where it loses the quality, if I have a choice. No, there's he's just getting going a little bit now, isn't he? Maybe the rider was a bit nervous, or it takes a bit to get into these tests sometimes, and I think Dana has got the whole world in front of her, and what a great place to start. We didn't have Willinga Parks and Sydney Equestrian Centre back in our day. We had Lochinvar and a little bit of Horse World at the end that was never really finished enough for us to ride in, but those Lochinvar days, they were just unbelievable. I wouldn't miss them for anything.
No, me either.
Loved them.
Lochinvar was quite the the icon, and now this place I think has become the icon. Willinga Park. I'm sure Bonio Park might disagree, and that'd be fair enough as well. It's pretty hard to split the two for their lovely facilities. Dana probably has competed quite often at Bonio. Coming down for the
Last centre
line and halt at eye.
That's quite
Scoring
straight.
about 65% at the moment. Looking pretty comfortable that might be her personal best score at an international competition.
Oh, well done.
So you can't do much better than that.
I think she's just going to ride more tests and get more experience and just learn to push the buttons a little bit harder and get Tattinger to operate a little bit more. She certainly warmed up a lot more in that test and got more out of him.
So official score for Dana Krause and Tattinger of 65.294%. First place currently, first rider out, but more importantly, a personal best for Dana at this level of competition. Next into the arena, Claire Plenty, riding a horse called Queensland. Claire, however, resides in New South Wales. Queensland is 19 years old and by Quando, and she's judges are just about ready for her to enter.
Yep, you better gallop.
So Clary, I'm informed, Clary Plenty. Clary has started quite well, set off with some purpose.
Christy Oatley.
Yes, that's right. Quando Quando was ridden by Christie. And he stood in Australia.
He still stands.
I think he still does
Yeah.
stand. Yes.
Yeah, I saw him. He's an old man now, but he's just gorgeous.
He's
Very
actually
happy.
sired a lot of good horses.
He has. He was quite a spectacular horse in the competition arena too. Well, you just want to jump in there and help them, don't you?
Yeah. The one long, one short doesn't
Yeah.
help in the
No.
Piaffe or the Passage.
No.
So judges have to
Tricky.
note that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's tough. Getting it inside the arena is part of the test, isn't it? Like it's all well and good getting it outside, but we got to take that Piaffe from outside and put it in here. We got to deliver the goods. So, and that comes with just, I guess, learning the trade, doesn't it? Trying to find little openings as to how do we get this horse to get that Piaffe happening inside the arena, so we can get marks from those judges.
Yes,
He's 19, isn't he?
he is
Sorry.
He is
Yeah.
19, and you know the judges. It's a really hard job judging, and we don't give them enough credit for making a snap decision through the progress of these tests. You have to be quick. You have to be on your game, and when horses offer some sort of blurring transitions or long steps, short steps, you are forced to go, will I go up or down, how much will I do it? And you haven't really got that much time,
No,
so you
I
have to make
agree.
a decision. It's much easier to judge a horse that's doing the job easily. Then you sit there and enjoy it. But when they're a little bit tricky, you're trying to do the best by the rider.
And it's over in a blink, like you
It's
said.
over in a
because you
blink.
can't miss that next movement.
No, that's right, you're already
This-
focused.
It's just tick-tock, you know, that clock is going and that test is happening right in front of you, and you can't just stop and go back. It's interesting because he actually gets up and goes in pretty well all the movements. The only thing he just has no spark in is that Piaffe. It's a bit of a shame because he's quite active in the rest of the work. And at 19, you know, maybe he's just gotten a bit wise too, because they, you know, we teach them how to think, we teach them how to respond, and then I think they get a bit smart, and sometimes they work out how not to do things.
Or they're being helpful, but they just haven't got the timing quite right.
Quite possibly too.
You know, not always thinking against you,
No.
thinking for you, but
Yeah.
sooner than you want.
Yeah. Yeah, they're quite
Expressive
tidy.
twos, aren't
yeah,
they?
Nice. And quite straight. Pirouettes are not bad. They're quite well placed, well centred. Quite a pleasant picture. Frame is quite correct. He seems quite comfortable in the hand. Ah, tidy. Transition on the marker. Quite a nice accurate test, really.
And she has improved to score up to 65.
Yeah. That's tidy.
So it's just going to be this final centre line. She's certainly giving Dana, the previous competitor, her score is giving Dana's a little push here currently. So if she can do a good centre line, show some nice passage all the way up to the marker. We could have a new leader.
Good job.
She's a very happy girl, isn't that lovely?
Oh, that's great.
And she must know,
Queensland.
of course she knows, we're trending on a personal best score for her on 65.5, and based on her very happy face, I just think it's going to go into the lead. And a lovely result there for Claire Plenty, riding Queensland, with 65.637, putting her into first place. Oh no, oh, it says 1 and 1, but I think that's not quite right. Anyway, 65.637, and that's a personal best for Claire. Clary, sorry Claire, Clary. Next into the arena, Mary Nitschke, riding Cardinal, Utopian Cardinal. Mary is from South Australia, but spends a lot of time in New South Wales, I think, these days. Utopian Cardinal is by Regardez Moi. And he's 19 years old.
Did Heath used to ride this horse? Aha. Okay, so he's got some competition mileage under his belt. It's nice to see these horses trained by professionals and then moved on to young riders, isn't it? Or adult owner riders. It gives them a fantastic opportunity to get into the level on a trained, seasoned horse.
Yes, Heath had a lot of success with this horse. I believe he was Australian champion at least once. Mm-hmm. And Mary is, of course, his pupil. And possibly Rosie Ryans as well. I'm not sure who gets to coach her the most. But it's a horse that knows its job very well.
It sure does. My daughter took over my old Grand Prix horse, Classico, and she used to get really frustrated in the Prix St George because Classico knew the Grand Prix so well. She'd head across the diagonal and he'd just do his twos and do his ones. It was quite funny because he had an absolute ball, full pirouettes. She only needed half pirouettes. She felt that she never really was in control. Oh, he's going to do the best job he can, isn't he?
Yeah, just a little bit tight in the neck.
Yeah.
And not quite enough general oomph overall.
Yeah. I know the feeling. I feel like that every morning when I get up. It's tricky, isn't it, with these FEI horses, especially the Grand Prix horses. By the time they've learnt everything and are 100% secure, they're a bit old, hey? We don't get long enough with a secure Grand Prix horse before they're almost ready to retire. 8 years of training to get there, and the time we spent there is not long enough.
No, and that's where we can be grateful for products like Foresight.
Yes.
We didn't have them when we had horses, and I can only hope that it's we can maintain soundness in dressage horses and all performance horses really with the use of such products.
What did we have? A teaspoon of glucosamine and a teaspoon of MSM from the health food shop.
Yes, probably underdosed all the time.
Yes. Yeah, we didn't even have arena surfaces like this. What did we have? Sand. Oh dear.
I remember I had grass and rock
Oh yeah.
at my house.
I remember you at Tamworth on a young horse on the cabbage weed, and he fell over.
I remember that
I don't think
too.
he ever recovered from that.
No, I didn't either.
That was rough. And Toowoomba, when it flooded and we were going round, it was foot deep in mud.
Thankfully
Good
moved
job.
on. That was good.
Nice
Yeah,
pirouette.
she's going well. She's trending on about 63.8. And
Ah, he's off.
she knows how to set sail, and I
Yeah.
love to see that. It's really important to understand go
And come back.
and come back. And the more go you have, actually, the better it is when you come back.
That's for sure. He's certainly getting the job done, isn't he?
Yeah, she's
She's got buttons happening.
got button.
Oh, you cheeky devil. Oh, she caught him though. He was
Yeah,
going to
she
do a
did.
sneaky, and she kept him in front of her leg. Yeah, he doesn't want to play the game in the ones. Are they twos? Is that run twos?
That's twos.
Ah.
We're coming up to the
I'm
ones.
getting muddled up with the
Yeah.
Grand Prix.
Yeah, we've gone back a level. Now the ones.
I'm getting excited for the ones.
Here we go.
Yeah, all clean.
Yeah, so she just has to get 11 and she got them.
She's happy.
There's a little bit of rider motion on top that might have helped, but we'd like to see a bit less of that.
Certainly gets those front legs out there, doesn't he?
Up to 65.
One last line.
Also with the possibility at that score to push the mark up and move into first or second.
Nice tidy halt. She's heavy. They really love their horses, don't they?
Yeah.
I'm really impressed by the commitment of these young riders. You know, they're out there, they're doing it, they're putting the hard yards in. Maybe they're getting trained horses to ride, but it doesn't make the job any easier. You still have to get on and do it.
That's right, and she's trending here on 65 and a little bit higher. I think perhaps she isn't going to make it into first or second. They're all around 65, so it's a matter of getting the judge to swipe the pen and go a little bit taller, a little bit more. Okay. Official score for Mary Nitschke and Utopian Cardinal of 65.049. Third place currently. They're all very close together on the 65 mark. And in the arena now, Martha and JW Limitless. JW Limitless is owned by Jackie Winspear, ridden by Martha, and is a 15-year-old Hanoverian gelding by Lessing.
They've all been pretty straight on the entry. I think just that bit of collection, that bit of preparation coming to that halt, it might be lacking a little bit because they sort of splatter a bit into the halt and get a bit wide behind. And I think if you can deliver a very nice entry, it's a very good presentation for the start of the test. And if you know you have a little bit of a weak area somewhere else, I think it's very important that, you know, the entry shouldn't be that hard to ride. So if you can present with a nice straight entry and a nice halt, and the entry into the halt and the depart from the halt, you know, if you can notch up a few extra marks, it just saves you somewhere else where you might have a bit of a weakness. So I think a little bit more attention might need to be placed on that entry. Just getting a little bit high, hey?
A little bit high and against the
Not
bridle in that
energetic.
one.
Yep. How old is this? Sorry? 15. Yeah, same thing, just a bit too much against the hand, hey?
Yeah.
Ooh. Little bit tension there in the walk.
Well, she kind of wandered a bit offline. I don't think that helped. You know, she made a mid diagonal, oops, I'm heading to the wrong marker,
Yeah.
and lost some balance as a result. Well, that's how I would see it.
Yeah. The Inter 2 usually picks some different lines too, not your tried and true sort of, you know, MXK and KXM. They use shorter lines, so you really have to be on the job to remember those lines because they're not stock standard lines.
So she did a nice job on the medium canter flying change, and the trending score is currently 67, so currently she's in front. She's got a good sit in this pirouette, but
Almost a little bit too much, hey? He's
yeah.
getting a bit stuck. I think he just gets a little bit high in front too and then gets a little bit stuck in his back. That's not bad. Bit of ground cover, bit of energy. Probably pushed a little bit over his back too. Oh, I would have liked to have seen a bit more collection before the flying change. They really need to finish those movements off, don't they? So
Yeah.
that there's a start and a finish, and then here's the flying change, and they'll find too they'll get a lot more expression in that flying change because, you know, at the end of the day, every single movement you ride in that arena is worth marks. So if they're easy marks to fetch, go get them. Give the judges correct movements and let them give you 7s or 8s. You know, don't settle for a 6 or a 6.5. He's getting a little bit carried away here, doing his own thing a bit.
yeah, the control button.
Yeah.
She might have missed which one to press on that one. He said, "That's all right, I can help you."
Let's do more fun stuff like one times. Yeah, he's got the power
Yeah.
button happening there. But a little bit better into the bridle, hey?
Yeah, and then he just gets a little bit mouth open.
Yeah,
Sits
little
a
bit
little bit.
against the hand again.
Still getting at 65 and a bit, so still going well within the class. It's another capable horse.
Yep, nice and straight.
With, knows its job, takes over occasionally. I don't think Martha's ridden him, been on him for a long time. So possibility of that score improving for her if she can just get a little bit more softness to the bridle.
And him not trying a few tricks where she doesn't want them.
So I think, again, another happy rider, trending on 65.4.
I don't think they can afford to be disappointed with tests like that, though. Like, it's just mileage. It's just hours riding movements, isn't it, at the end of the day?
So we're waiting for the official score. Circling the arena now is Jessica Durtel, riding Zanzibar, a 19-year-old Dutch warm blood gelding by San Remo. And we have a score for Martha Ulm of 65.49%. It's moved her into second place, with Clary Plenty still out in front on 65.63%.
What goes through your head, Jill, in those last moments before, from ringing the bell to coming through into that little white bordered area?
I used to, oh dear, that was unfortunate. I used to always say to myself, left leg, left leg, left leg. And because I always felt my left leg obeyed me least. And if I could remind myself about that, everything was a whole lot better. So that was always, last thought, left leg.
That's good. Mine was turn right or turn left.
Well, that was the second thought.
Nice extended trot. Bit unfortunate in the halt, but there's that magic hole just before X, isn't it, where they all like to stop before us.
Well, as we're saying, in the old days, there used to be holes at X because the arena
all
surface, we all did plonk.
Yeah.
So, no plonking in this arena, or caused by the arena, shall we say.
That was fairly tidy. Very elegant horse, isn't he? Very leggy. He's got legs up to his armpits.
Yes, he's tall, light, and finds that
Light
very
structure.
simple.
Yeah.
Although I think I see a little swaying, which from in front would be a bit more obvious than from the side.
Yeah, they start to make it look a little bit laboured, don't they?
Yeah.
It's tricky, isn't it, once they sort of get established like this, though? It's very hard to adjust them in a quick way to break a rhythm like that. Like he you'd like to say just quicken it a little bit, but it's easier said than done. Because once they sort of learn that rhythm, it's very hard to alter it.
Yeah, and sitting on top, it's hard to change your rhythm, which is what you need to do.
Yeah, exactly.
But when the rhythm is coming from underneath you, you have to, it's like rubbing your head and patting your stomach.
Yeah.
You have to be able to separate yourself.
You have to pat your head and rub your stomach.
Yeah, it's right.
Yeah, no, it's a tricky one. It's almost unlearnt behaviour. You have to negotiate.
So she's moved back up into the 65 score after the halt.
Again, probably like to see a bit more marked transition back at the end, just to sit him a little bit back, ready for that next movement. Nice half pass. Flowing.
Yeah, that was good.
Bend. Easy.
Yeah.
Tidy. Just lost a little bit of petrol at the end, hey?
And you've mentioned the transition at the end, but I like to mention the transition at the beginning of the extensions, is that you start in extension.
Together, hey?
You don't warm up to the extension. There's two. They both are part of the transition mark. So in some tests, we actually have a movement that is transitions at the beginning and the end, especially in the lower levels. There's quite a lot of those. So something
they're really
for people.
trying to introduce it then, aren't they, in
Yeah.
the training levels?
Well centred.
Oh, and he finished it right on the centre line and came out.
Legs got
shame.
muddled then.
Yeah. I guess that's what happens with long legs, eh?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. Very elegant picture they make, don't they?
Yeah, and she has, although there's been a few mistakes in the changes, she's still in a happy position of being at 67.5%.
Yep. The majority have really started that extended trot with good zest, haven't they?
Yeah, I always think the last one in of extended trot in any test is generally your best one.
Yeah, because you want to finish.
You want to finish.
I'm tired.
But because you've done the canter, the trot is
Yes.
often improved.
Yeah, because
so
the horse has let its back go.
yeah.
It's not a bad passage from front on. Getting a little bit crooked now. Oops. A little bit
Yep.
crooked in the hole. Very pleasant.
Nice support from the crowd then. And a score for Jessica Durtell and Zanzibar of 68.284%, first place currently, and a combination best score. Well done, Jessica. last competitor for this CDI Under 25 Intermediate 2, sponsored by Foresight, is Layla Williams from New South Wales, riding Ampersand. Ampersand is a 12-year-old gelding by Ampere and owned by Layla and bred by Regina Brand. So Layla and Ampersand, Ampersand is one of the youngest horse in this class. I think we'd say not such a schoolmaster, because in fact he was brought along to sort of medium advanced level by his previous rider. Oh, and then continued on. Layla's done brought the horse up through the next few levels. So there's a little difference between this horse and the other horses. We had a little whoopsie there, some kind of a moment, lack of submission after H. Hopefully she regroups here.
He's just got a little bit tense now, hasn't he?
Yeah. He's one of those, he's a horse that has probably quite a high opinion of himself, I think. Yeah. He's talented.
Yes.
And as I say, younger, isn't as wise to the world.
Got a Piaffe and Passage in there. Just needs some miles and some time, hey?
Yeah.
A bit more exposure, getting used to all the baddies in the world.
Yeah, I mean, great activity in that.
Yeah.
And suppleness within himself, but some contact, perhaps we could call it contact issues. And although I think he's competed here before, I think I'm right in saying that, at 12, he isn't the most experienced horse, and certainly not at this level.
It just shows it takes time, doesn't it?
It does indeed, yes.
Time and patience and exposure.
And in that medium canter, I think she just rode what she thought she could.
Yeah,
Safe, and from a judge's perspective, they're going to be saying, we needed more for medium canter, but she needs to keep the harmony.
Keep a lid on the energy too.
Yes. Nice half pass.
Very capable horse, isn't he?
Yes. So a bit braver on the extended canter.
Little contact issues there again, hey?
Yeah, I think they're not going away, those contact issues.
No. He's a little bit too bright, isn't he? Probably. Probably needs a bit more work before he comes in, maybe. Get him a little bit tired.
Well, perhaps tomorrow, the second test. This is his first test.
Ah, okay.
For the event.
Once he's been in here and had a look today, he might not think it's quite so exciting and be quite so animated tomorrow. We like life, but we don't quite like the exuberance of the disobedience. Tricky, isn't it? The good tension and the bad tension, hey?
Yeah, that's right.
Trying to turn that spark into expression and not into cheeky devil stuff. Certainly got a lot of motor there,
Yeah.
hasn't he?
Yep.
Well,
Time in the air.
that
It's
was
you know, it's impressive.
Yep. Trying to harness that is tricky though, and steer it in the direction that you wish it to go in, and that's just a bit of experience and getting that whole acceptance of the hand and the rideability level up. But again, for a young rider, she handled it pretty well, yeah.
Yes, it doesn't seem to, cause her, to tighten up or anything.
She just
so
got on with it.
she's got used to maybe his antics.
Yeah.
And a bit more time, we'll see a different horse, I suspect. So that's the last competitor in this class. We'll wait for her score. And we have a result for Layla Williams on ampersand of 60.98%, and putting her in 6th place. So we have the final results for this class, the intermediate 2, under 25, sponsored by Foresight, with Jessica Del riding Zanzibar in 1st place on 68.284%. Second, Clary Plenty, riding Queensland, on 65.63%. Third, Martha Orm, JW Limitless, 65.49%. Fourth, Dana Krause on Tattinger, 65.294. Fifth, Mary Nitschke, Utopian Cardinal, 65.049, and 6th, Layla Williams, ampersand, 60.9. Once again, we have a short break before the next class. Come back to the arena for the next class, the Young Riders team competition at 4:05.
It's really hard to narrow down the feel of riding into one word or even a couple of words. There's a lot of emotions that you come across while you're riding, as does your horse. You're listening to every movement, every breath. You're basically having a conversation with them every step of the way. There isn't really any force involved. I think that's part of having a good partnership. When you're out there flying around a big cross country, you're going as fast as you can to make time. Quite frankly, terrifying jumps sometimes, and it's an amazing feeling to have a partner who puts their heart and soul into it with you. And when you come through the finish line of a tough cross country and you've ridden it well and your horses jump well, it's just the best feeling. There's no better feeling in the world. Hi, I'm Hazel Shannon. I'm Willinga Park's eventing rider. At the moment, I'm sitting in the cross-country schooling paddock at Coneycroft Farm in the UK. I have ridden ever since I can remember. My family are horsey, had a good jumping horse as a kid, and that encouraged me to keep going down that path. And then when I finished school, I knew I didn't want to go and study. All I could think about was horses, so that's how I ended up following a career in horses. I love competition, I love competing, so you know, the next competition or whatever I'm aiming for really keeps me inspired and motivated. But also I do just love the everyday riding and training of the horses, and that is also something that motivates me to keep going. Willinga Park Clifford and I have been a partnership for close to 11 years now. It all started when he was bred in Tasmania for racing. He was not hugely motivated. Apparently he would wander out of the start gates. There was no urgency. He was a little unassuming and didn't show his talents early on. He was the next door neighbour's horse at the time. Me and Clifford made our way through the levels sort of slowly but surely. I was learning the ropes of the sport, as was he. In quite a quick amount of time, we found ourselves competing at the top level. He has won the Australian International 5-star 3-day event 3 times. He's the only horse to have done so. Wendy Ward and Alan Jennings, who was the owner of Clifford through the first few years of our career together, they were enthusiasts. Alan loved the partnership we were forming, and he loved the sport, and he was all on board for us to continue rising through the ranks of eventing. Unfortunately and very suddenly, he died from cancer, which was devastating to Wendy and all of us who knew Alan, who was a really great guy. Clifford's had become quite successful at this stage, and a little bit too successful for myself to afford to buy. We started looking around for other options, which is incredibly hard to find someone who can afford to purchase and own a horse and keep a horse running at the top level of the sport, let alone wants to do that. So I was incredibly lucky that Terry had stepped in and actually became the owner of Clifford, Terry and Jeanette. So the first time I met Terry, he had owned the horse for max 2 days, I would say. I had him entered for a competition in Goulburn. It was the State Eventing Championships at the time. Terry and Jeanette both turned up to have a look at the new horse they'd just bought. Funnily enough, and the timing could not have been better, we ended up winning the cup, and I could send a nice big trophy home with the new owners of Willinga Park Clifford. This was 5 or 6 years ago now, and since then Clifford has had the biggest successes of his career. My groom for what was meant to be 4 weeks is Bronte Buttle.
Hazel's definitely a good boss. She's very hands-on. She's always incredibly prepared. She spent a very long time not having a groom, so she has her own list, she has her own programs, and she makes it very easy for me to know where she's at, what she needs. I always feel very supported.
Even though Bronte is my groom, we do share a lot of the chores. It is not just a me riding and Bronte doing the work situation. I enjoy being involved in it. The competitions and the amount of competitions, the amount of training facilities, the amount of help, there's just a lot in a small area compared to Australia, which is so vast. There are a lot of opportunities, there's a lot of competitions, a lot of very good riders and very good horses. It gives you other ideas to bring back and to put into your own training systems. So at the moment we're in the final 3.5 weeks preparation into the World Equestrian Championships. That's in Italy, Protoni. We've very nearly made teams in the past, but we haven't quite got there. So to have finally achieved this goal Clifford and I have been working so hard towards it's truly an amazing feeling. I kind of think about preparing for an eventing competition in 4 parts. You have your 3 disciplines, the dressage, the cross country and the show jumping, all which require different kinds of training as they're asking a different question of the horse and of the rider. And the 4th thing is the fitness for the cross country. It's long and it's an endurance question, so you definitely have to spend some time getting the horse and yourself fit enough. We do everything we possibly can to have him feeling and looking great. It goes from the sort of feeds we use, the sort of supplements we use, regular icing of his legs after a strenuous activity such as jumping or galloping. The other thing I'm really careful of is the surfaces I ride on, particularly Clifford, particularly when they get older. You want to do everything you can to have them feeling comfortable. For example, if the cross-country course here or at an event is a bit hard or a bit too soft, he doesn't need to go and run around a course. He's done so many of them, he knows his job, so I think some days it's better just to sit it out. I get asked a lot about nerves and fear, and of course I get them. I think you'd be mad not to get them. Sometimes imagining how they might not jump well, which is not great. But once we leave the start box and we get out there, the fear and the nerves kind of disappear because there's not a lot of room left for any thoughts apart from intense focus on how you're getting the horse to the jump, the speed you're travelling at, the balance you're at, to give them the best possible chance at jumping the jump well. People often comment about my face. It looks quite frankly furious, but I am completely in the zone of concentration and I hear and see nothing.
A 10-year partnership. They've done 44 competitions together and won 11 of them. 25% success rate. That's quite something.
Just looks such an old soldier. I think he's been here many times before. Some horses are just like that. They're just have had many lives, I'm sure. They have such a wisdom about them, and this is one of them.
How did it feel out there, Hazel? Oh, it was tough to keep up on your minute markers. I was down, and luckily good old Thoroughbred can kick it and it goes a bit faster. He was hanging out for me to kick him the whole way, but just with all that windiness, I was like, no, we have to keep a bit of containment on this, but he's great. He's such a fighter and he's such a jumper, and I'm so appreciative for him.
And how did he feel at the end?
He felt like he'd go around again. He's always like that. There's no limit to his tank. But I don't know if I could go around again. I think I'd use up all my energy and nerve. Perspective is kind of a big thing for me. When I'm at a big competition, I like to sometimes just remember how I would have felt when a younger me was looking forward to now, and just being grateful for having the opportunity to even be there. It's been such an honour to have the trust from Terry to come here with horses, He's had to have a lot of faith. There's been some highs, but there's also been some pretty big lows on this trip, and that's just horses and that's just sport. And for him to keep sticking by us and keep supporting us so we can have a chance to come good and get some good results. It's a huge, huge commitment to send a rider and horses overseas. He's done that with myself. He's also done that with Jaden Brown for the dressage. It personally does amazing things for our lives and our careers, but we will come back to Australia and we'll keep supporting the sport. I think myself and all of Australia in equestrian disciplines are very fortunate that Terry has such ambitions for Australia equestrian sport. He's put a lot of support and time and effort into various disciplines, not just eventing. I really hope that we can help to make the sport as great as Terry's ambitions are.
appropriate frame so that you can carry out the movements required of you. I think that is the priority to everything, training, test riding. The horse has to be on the bit. It's probably the hardest thing to do. Movements are easy, really, but I tell you what, they're a lot nicer and a lot easier when your horse is on the bit. I'm not really that familiar with all these new young rider tests, etc. But I do have to say, I think it's wonderful that they are available. It's really opened up a lot more classes for the young riders, and to see some talent coming through is great.
Yes, so far in this test, we've the different movements, we've had what's called a volte rather than a circle. It is still a circle, but it's small, of 8 metres, and a shoulder in, and here she's doing shoulder in to the right, in collected trot. And here's the volte right, and you can see that it's a little hard, and so the horse tilts its neck and loses balance as a result of the tightness of the circle and its lack of suppleness in this case. But that's what you're judging.
Would this be about the equivalent to Prix St George, Jill?
I think Prix St George is about the right level. They'll do half pirouettes in canter. Yeah. And they do threes and tempies, threes and fours. Gotcha. So it's nearly the Prix St George test, but with just sometimes a slightly different pattern.
Yeah.
So like a hybrid test.
Yes. And here we're watching the walk pirouettes, which we haven't seen earlier, so far on the live stream.
A little bit hurried, hey?
Again, not half pirouettes in walk. It's never been the easiest movement to ride.
Just trying to get them centred and balanced. Certainly, watching the medium level tests yesterday with the half pirouettes in it, I think the common sort of fault through all of it was way too much neck bend, and it just kept putting the horses off balance. Lateral bend, great, but too much neck bend, and the horse really struggles to get around.
Yes, we always say it's supposed to be a uniform bend, and I'm not sure why the neck isn't part of uniform, but it seems to often be ridden with it at a right angle to the rest of the horse. I hate that. Here she's got some nice uniform bend there in the half pass to the right.
Nice type of horse, isn't he?
Yes, he's a Dutch warm blood by Crack C.
Oh.
Coming up for the half pirouette.
Ooh, in a bit of a hurry. I try and encourage my students to always set that one up looking a little bit from H to the corner, not necessarily H to F, because I find there's always a little bit of drift at the start of the pirouette, which puts the whole placement of the pirouette too far over, and then this line out into your counter-canter can be a little bit too tight in the angle. So these are just little training tips just to help make that riding the lines a little bit more convenient.
So every fourth stride, mistake on the second, behind, and on the last.
It's a little bit crooked and tight, eh?
And then we'll have, on the next diagonal, we'll have 5 every third stride.
Just remember, if you are watching the live streaming at home, you can participate with the spectators judging.
nice and tidy into the hole.
It was a lovely halt. He didn't
very
collapse
nice.
in a heap.
No, very nice.
And softly into halt.
Yep, good to see.
So she's trending on 66 or thereabouts. And a score for Cody Tupper and Endless Dream of 66.5%. The next rider coming into the arena in this young riders team competition, CDIY, is Hannah Rockwell on Bowman's Diarella, an 11-year-old Westphalian mare by Dankeschön, owned and ridden by Hannah.
Nice tidy entry.
Well, set off like a rocket out of the corner.
It sure did.
I think she was listening when I said, you've got to start like you mean it.
At least they got the hint.
So shoulder in to the left. And the judgment of the size of the 8-metre circle when the centre line isn't actually mown as we used to have. But for me, that circle was a little bit on the generous side.
Yeah, he was a 9-metre.
And just occasionally this horse shows a little lack of bend through its ribs to the left, and which was what was happening in the shoulder in. Or not happening, not enough bend.
It's a tricky horse to ride, isn't it? Because it's built a little bit high behind. So it's a bit tricky to really put up and out into that frame that some of the other horses that are built more uphill makes it more difficult to create that same carriage.
Yeah, but she did a better job there in the right half pass in relation to
Lateral
bending.
bend.
Yeah.
The
So-
volte was still a bit generous. Oop, getting a bit muddled in the footfall.
And a better job, but a little bit bigger, but still kept the walk rhythm. A nice easy way of walking though. A nice freedom in the front legs. Overtracks well.
They don't place the judging doesn't place a lot of emphasis on the overtrack anymore, does it? I'm sure they use it, but not really. Not like
well,
we used
I
to.
think at this level they probably do use it.
Yeah.
Perhaps in other classes at higher levels. There's a
Less so.
little less.
It's quite happy to go sideways, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was tidy, right on the centre line.
So she's getting some nice scores.
There's a half vault.
67% currently trending. Oh, you saw her half vault.
Yeah.
Good girl.
Quite well set up. It's good that she had that amount of collection because it was quite a short line that she chose between H and X. So
Yeah.
had she been a bit freer in the canter, she would have run into difficulty. But because the horse is actually sitting and collected, she could pull it off. Good. Changes right on the marker too. Looks like a nice, honest horse too that just wants to get on and do the job. Even though she looks quite bright and attentive, she's not turning it into getting a bit smart and getting ahead of the rider.
Good. And a happy pat from the rider.
Yeah.
Which is a lovely thing. It's a lovely thing to see in the test. One, it's a reward, but two, you know, you have actually given the rein away and the horse gets a double reward. Yeah, and it's currently on 68%, which is well out in front if it keeps it going.
Well, it's a nice tidy test. Nice straight centre line. A little bit of trot to walk to the halt, but nothing too dramatically. Nice square halt to finish. Very tidy.
Rider clearly pleased. And I think the judges enjoyed it. It's looking like it might get to 69%. And an official score for Hannah Rockwell and Bowman's Diarella of 69.06. Personal best for Hannah and puts her in first position. The audience score is also up there at about 68%. So we're currently in agreement. The next competitor to come into the test will be Danielle McMahon, riding Remy's Laurie's Joy, a 12-year-old Hanoverian mare by Laurie's Az, owned and ridden by Danielle McMahon.
Oh. Can't tell from behind with the hat on.
This horse, Remy Laurie's Joy by Laurie's Az. You and I will remember Tor Vandenberg riding Laurie's Az. Glenys?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Oh, and the mother is For Joy.
Oh,
Ridden by Kaz Rowe. So, yeah,
She was a lovely
two
mare.
lovely parents.
Yes. Lovely straight entry too. She's a lot like her mother, isn't she?
Well, I can remember that she
Really?
was chestnut.
Yes, and a big roomy mare. On the marker of 8.
Yeah, and a better shaped, sized circle.
Just
And,
losing a little
just-
bit of power in that one. She has a good use of the forearm, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Gets that really rolling. Nice, nice outline.
Good. Maintained the balance and the rhythm in that shoulder in. And kept the circle to the right sort of size. Oh,
Oops,
and then
little
a
hiccup.
little bit of a moment. Currently scoring around the 65 mark. Walk well maintained through the pirouette. And again.
We've had a few chestnut mares through today.
Must be a popular colour. And sex.
Yeah. I remember Bimbo Pilika saying to me once when I bought Livius, I said, oh, but he's chestnut. And he said, a good horse doesn't have a colour. So I ended up with about 5 chestnuts. Nice straight canter transition. Probably could have that little bit more suppleness in that lateral bend right too, hey?
Preparation for the pirouette, tending to end up a little bit on the. Not
Saved.
the horse had a little conversation with her about maybe wanting to go the other way, downhill rather than uphill.
Well, yeah.
see what happens on this one.
Just alters the rhythm a little bit, hey?
Yeah, I think a bit lack of control with the outside rein might be the problem.
Oh, that's a shame. A little bit of breakdown in communication maybe at the start, but she recovered quite well.
And she sort of staying around the 65 mark. Oh, and
Yeah,
again,
communication.
breakdown.
Oh, whoopsie. It's got the flying change bug.
So some, unnecessary little mistakes there. Helpful mistakes or not, as the horse was thinking, but it's a nice horse with some capable movements in it.
I think she just sneaks a bit behind the aids
Yeah.
and then guesses what might be coming up.
And an official score for Danielle McMahon and Remy Laurie's Joy of 64.559% and third place. Circling the arena, Bethany Lawson-Ho, riding Spring. Spring is a 17-year-old warm blood mare by Sir Donoghue, owned by Xana Northam and ridden here today by Bethany Lawson-Ho. And I think this is Bethany's first big competition. So currently she's looking fairly polished in the sitting well, maintaining a good frame in the horse. Oh, a little bit too steep in the angle of the shoulder end to the right, but well corrected. And some swinging out of the quarters on the circle volte, as we like to call them.
Good energy on that trot tool.
Oh, and a big step out on the first pirouette to the right. So that's a no-no. And that one wore a turn on the centre and a loss of rhythm. They're not easy things to ride, that's for sure. All pirouettes are tricky and walk just as tricky as canter.
Coming to the end of the extended walk. Right. The half pass is coming up. Getting to the centre line quite nicely. A little mistake in the change of legs. So Bethany doing a great job for her first major competition. It's not an easy task. Same problem in the canter pirouettes as we had before.
Yeah, a little bit, oh no, I'll kick the board and upset herself. However, if she can be clever here and still maintain the canter into the next pirouette, that it will be costly, but she's managed to,
That canter was actually
yeah,
better.
it was better. But the counter canter with the big launch, can't give that a high mark, that's for sure. So carrying on, getting ready for the fours. And, that's good riding is, you don't want the mess that she had. However, you also don't want to carry the mess on and wreck the next movement. And so she did a good job there to recover. And a score for Bethany Lawson-Ho riding Spring of 61.324% and 4th place. Cody Tupper currently in the lead on 66.5. Next competitor in the arena is Sophie Artup, riding Charisma Ballerine, a 13-year-old warm blood mare by Bellissimo NRW, owned by Jenny Stock and ridden by Sophie Artup. My favourite colour enters the arena. There have been 2 of them today. The Golden Horse. No, that's still Palomino. It's
the dorsal stripe, isn't it?
No, it's the colour.
Oh.
And it's a mostly white tail. I mean, it's got some dark hairs, but no, that's definitely Pal. She says with great authority. Okay, so some self-carriage issues going on in the shoulder in the circle. A little ducking of the head at times.
A little bit better there.
Good trotting there across the short side. But if I wanted to comment about this half pass shoulder in, I just want a little more softness through the rib cage.
That lateral bend, hey?
Yeah.
Same in the circle.
Trending on about 68.6%.
The judges must like Palominos too.
Sensible judges.
Not a bad pirouette. Funny talking about Palominos. Driving here, I passed what must have been a Palomino start because they had like six or seven Palominos in one paddock. Jill would have been over the moon. Oh, which one do I pick?
That's right, almost a record.
I think they were all quarter horses though.
Oh, okay. Well,
could have done a spot of Western. Not really happy to get that neck out and stretch. Oh, I might be a bit there.
Yeah, she's giving away some marks here that we'd like her to have.
Yes.
A bit more enthusiasm in that walk and more stretch.
Just be a bit braver.
Yeah.
Take that bridle, a bit more shoulder forward for that transition. Would be good. Just got that little bit of disturbance in that carriage again. Oh. Around that right leg again.
Yeah. Not
those little issues, they come back to haunt us in every pace, don't they?
Yeah.
There's nothing you can hide. How old is this horse, sorry?
13.
Okay.
13 years old. So she's still maintaining a good 67% in the test.
The actual setup and balance and placement of that pirouette was quite nice. Again, just a little bit of that head not coming back in again. In front of that seat and leg. That's it. I'm actually quite impressed with all these young rider classes for not having seen competition, and especially the young riders go for quite a few years now. I'm quite impressed with what we have coming through.
And that's great for the sport if we can get the young riders, moving onwards and upwards and understanding the training process.
And the training scale.
Yeah, as they go along. And that's the purpose, really, of these tests, is to encourage that. So pretty straight.
Nice into it.
And so trending pretty much around the 67.8 mark, so possibly we'll end up at 68. And it would look like for Sophie and Charisma Ballerine that her result will be a personal best. And that's probably in relation to the level of competition, being her first CDIY. As a young rider, when they compete at a CDIY, their horse has to go through a trot up, which was held yesterday, which checks for suitability, soundness for the event. And be registered through the FEI, the governing body. Have a score for Sophie Artup of 67.99% and second place currently. And circling the arena is Clara Denny riding Bello Gallico. Bello Gallico is a 15-year-old gelding by Bellissimo, owned and ridden by Clara Denny from New South Wales.
Nice straight entry, a little bit on the forehand into the halt. As we can see, it was a little bit wide behind. Straight to part. There's quite a few Bellissimo M horses in the classes here. There were quite a few in the medium as well.
Okay, we need a little bit more energy for that extended trot.
Horses are more comfortable in the saddle bridle.
A little bit of loss of rhythm there at the start. He just needs to sit a little bit more. Get a bit of weight on those hind legs. Bit of a fine line between shoulder in or quarters out, I think, in those two shoulder ins. And the circle was getting better. The other one was a bit large, or the volte, I should say. Certainly can cross over.
Good marching walk. Just got, or she controlled it, but a little bit bigger than you'd want. But didn't lose the rhythm, which is the most important part. But a little bit too much sidewards in the
Dragged it
return of
out a
that
bit.
one.
He's happy to take the bridle down. Probably in a big horse like him, I'd like to see a little bit more over track than that, a little bit more supple in the hind leg. Try and pick up a few more marks in a place where there's a coefficient. Or that was interesting, that zigzag, because at the corner it was a little bit out of control, but then for a counter change of hand, she had really good control and placement. I think in her corners, he's a bit scopy in his movement and he gets a little bit away from Clara, a little bit past X.
Yes, it's meant
Needs
to
more
be
room.
between the corner
Snuck
marker
over
and
there.
X.
I think just now and then he needs a little bit more of a half halt to sit him a little bit and say to him, come back here and listen to me. Oh, don't go so far.
She's kind of
Yeah,
asking.
same problem.
Yeah, she's kind of asking
She's
for them
waiting
to.
too late.
Yeah.
And there goes your accuracy mark straight away. You can do the best pirouette, but if it's past the marker, you're going to lose marks.
Yeah, and you may even get an error, of course.
Yeah. And he
If it
didn't
looks deliberate.
do the flying change at C, I don't think.
Yeah, so that kind of wrecked the series change.
Yeah. I think something I've also seen a little bit consistently is the placement of the middle change. It needs to be right on X, so that that third flying change in both the fours and the threes has to be on X. And then the placement of the sequence is more even, it's more balanced. Very straight. Oh. He's a big horse.
Yeah, so Clara had some issues, particularly up here in this top corner near H, where the horse wanted to change legs in the canter as it went through the corner. Despite that, she kept her own cool and kept riding in a pretty positive way. So the score will have to reflect those changing legs when not required. It's just a little bit of a moment here while the judges decide what to do with that. So we'll just wait. There will be a break after this. And so a score for Clara Denny, Bello Gallico, my beg your pardon, of 65.5%, putting her in 4th position. And we have a break now, just a few minutes, 6 minutes in total, back here at 5:01. Just give us a chance to all regroup. And we'll see you back in just 6 minutes.
Welcome to Willinga Park, Dressage by the Sea 2023. And I'm here with Jessica Durtell. Hi.
Hi.
Just a quick question. How many times have you been here before?
So this is my 4th year here at Willinga Park. It's such an amazing facility. Terry's done an amazing job. I think it's pretty cool that not only that it's an amazing facility for the horses, but it's a world-class facility that spectators can come and see, and that it's amazing for everyone to see.
And how many horses do you have here this weekend?
So we've brought 5 this year for this team, and one of them I'm not riding, but I've got 4 to ride, and my little student, Zali Mills, is riding in the children's test on her horse.
So it's a busy weekend for you?
Always a busy weekend with Future Farms.
And so you're also from a fairly busy, competitive family, and you do other things other than dressage, don't you?
Yep, so I've started with the Arabian horses where I originated from. Our farm has gone through endurance. We compete with the Arabians all the time. We've done Arabian flat racing, the dressage, done a little bit of jumping, a bit of everything.
And were you here last weekend with Arabians?
So I was in Sydney last week with the Arabians at the Australian Arabian Championships.
And how many horses did you have there? I believe there was a lot.
Yes, so we had 19 horses there.
Yeah, so fairly busy family running a busy stables. A couple of questions. What's something that you can't live without in your stables or in your tack room?
I think that's definitely a hard one. We have a diverse range of amazing sponsors that have my tack rooms filled to the brim at all times, that keep myself and my horses in tip-top condition and comfortability.
Great. Is there something about you that maybe the viewers wouldn't know that you'd like to share with us?
I feel like a lot of people know that I started with the Arabians, but I feel many dressage people wouldn't know that I've competed for Australia in the UAE for endurance.
Well done. So quite talented. And is there a sponsor or maybe a number one supporter that you'd like to give a shout out to?
So definitely a massive thank you to Terry for this amazing facility, to Sable Farm for you following me on this amazing journey with these horses. I really couldn't do it without them, and my amazing family and team at Future Farms that have supported me every step of the way, and it's been an amazing journey and I can't thank everyone enough.
So we wish you all the best and great success over the weekend. We'll be following you, and have a great show.
Thank you.
Circling the arena, Bridget Dalmau, riding Bon Jovi, MH. Bon Jovi is a gelding by Bonifacius and ridden by Bridget Dalmau from, it says Australia, I think that's probably fair enough, but possibly she's from a state as well.
Fairly straight entry, probably a little bit high in the neck.
I always want to see the horse look at me straight and not stand there flexed to the right in halt.
Just lacks that lateral bend, that lateral suppleness, doesn't he? Changing angle. It's definitely 8.
It's got a nice way of trotting. It's got fluid movement, but suppleness needs to be both lateral and over the back.
Longitudinal. Lacking a bit of angle.
Yeah, maybe not quite 3 tracks for that one.
No. Bit stepping out, or just walking around, not quite
It's not centering it.
engaging and pirouetting.
And a better job on
Slightly better,
the right
yes.
one.
Oh, the cameraman spooked. Now he's going to be tense. That's a shame.
Where's the cameraman? Where was he? Missed him.
In
Anyway.
that grandstand.
Right.
Again, just lacking that relaxation and stretch down in that top line. Now he just keeps looking for the boogeyman. Not really round
Yeah,
that
he's a little
inside
worried
leg,
now.
not really a half pass. That's tough.
See if she can manage to keep him
Whoa,
concentrated enough
Yeah,
here. No.
the demon's out to get him.
So, preparation for the canter pirouette, taking a bit of time, but that's the best answer. Good. Okay, worked hard at that. Held He's not going to score a fabulous mark, but everybody can see he's got worried by something. Yeah, good job on the sitting
Very
and
good job.
maintaining the canter in that one.
Oh, he might be settling down a bit now. That's a shame. It's hard, isn't it, when they get a spook like that, because when you lose them mentally, they can't do the job.
No, and of course one of the things we say about big competitions is, well, horses have got to get used to these things,
Yeah.
you know, and that's true,
Yeah.
but it's really hard when it happens to you in the test
Yeah.
that you've worked so hard for, and it's, it's a growing experience. That's all you can ever say.
And I guess it just sort of too drives home the point how much more through and on the bit they need to be at home in their schooling, so that you hopefully have a little bit of something in reserve to call on to try and get them back as quickly as you can if they do lose a bit of focus and attention in here.
Yeah, a really valid point, that.
She's trying her best, isn't she? She's going to get on with the job. Well done. I think this horse could actually show some quite decent work in a different environment, but this is the test as well. They've got to cope. If that was me, I would have walked straight down that centre line and taken him past there and had a good look at all of that and said to him, it's okay.
Well, she's had a rethink and she is taking a little longer to walk out. So, full points to her. She got over the halt.
Take advantage of her time.
Yeah. Show him that people are allowed to move and.
Yep.
Good. And so we. Have a score for Bridget Dalmau riding Bon Jovi of 61.86%, putting her in 6th place. Next into the arena, Lucy Cochrane riding Jumanji. Jumanji is 14 years old, by Gymnastic Star, owned and ridden by Lucy Cochrane.
Nice straight entry. Horse seems to be quite round and accepting the bridle quite happily. Interesting to get one with pictures on him.
Yes.
And what a great name, Jumanji.
Yeah. And nice, the marking is a really nice marking.
Yeah.
It's pretty even on both sides.
Yeah.
So it's the sort of thing I enjoy to see.
Quite a nice balanced rhythmical shoulder in. Same on the circle or the volte.
She too riding in a snaffle bridle. Just gets its neck, a tilt in its neck through the turns.
He's really giving her quite a decent ride, isn't he? Like he's doing his best.
It's a flowing
Yep.
test.
Got some oomph about him. Get
Yeah.
up and go.
And it's very smooth between everything. So
Yep.
it's, yeah, she's trending on 68 and a bit.
Not too bad. Maybe just a teeny tiny loss of balance in the middle.
A little bit bigger, that
Yeah,
one,
a
so
little
kept the
bit dragged
balance.
out. He's quite bright and alert, but he's relaxed with it. There's no unnecessary tension. As he shakes his head. Oops.
He said, oh, should I wake up and give you a fright or not? No, we'll hope it was a passing bit of fluff or something. On with the canter. Could be a bit more uphill straight away, is my first thought.
A bit more sitting.
But generous in the sidewards movement.
I think to the right he could afford to be a little bit more supple through the ribcage.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Oh.
cheeky devil, you don't have any friends. Pirouettes. Just needs that bit more engagement, hey?
Yeah.
That off the forehand self-carriage to make
Yeah.
those harder movements a little bit more easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing, bit more collection in the preparation so that the pirouette is a bit easier to ride. I think she's just lost a diagonal line a bit. Oh, they just have to poo, don't they? Yeah, the diagonal line was lost a bit and then he had to have a toilet break. Very expensive poop. And he redeemed himself in the threes. Tidy and organised and obedient, but probably just could have a bit more expression, a bit more punchy. Good job.
Yeah, a pleasant enough way of going, but we always want more, and so more would mean more uphill, more sitting. We can say that about everything though, can't we?
Yeah, that's true.
So trending on about 66% and approximately fourth position. And a score for Lucy Cochrane riding Jumanji of 66.24274%, putting her in fourth place. Currently, our leader remains as Hannah Rockwell on Bowman's Diarella on 69.6%. And we have entering the arena now, circling, Jessica Durtel, Gladstone MH. Gladstone is a 12-year-old Dutch gelding by Bordeaux, owned by Samantha Thomas, bred in, I would say, Holland, and ridden by Jessica Durtel. So lacking a bit of balance as it set off in trot.
I think maybe, yeah, it's another case of that little bit quarters out rather than shoulder in. Still a nice rhythm though. The volte was a tad large.
Again, in the half pass, not always confident in his rhythm.
That's better. Don't change your angle.
Just like it to be a little bit more constant round the circle, both in carriage and rhythm.
Tiny hop at the end, but nice setup. I think I've watched a little bit over the last sort of 2 days a bit, and one thing that's become a little bit obvious in those walk pirouettes as well is riders are getting put a little bit on the outside seat bone, and I think if they thought about their weight distribution a little bit more and came into the middle of the horse and, you know, even thinking about loading a bit into that inside seat bone, they might find that the turns are a little bit easier and a bit more balanced.
Yes, you've got to remember that the horse has got to carry you around these things and make adjustments with whatever's happening on top. So yeah, really, really important to be on the middle of the horse in all the movements and tending towards the middle, the centre of the horse or the inside of the horse on the turning ones without leaning. And here she looks a little bit against the horse as well, leaning a bit to the left when, for me, I'd like her to be thinking a bit more about going to the right herself.
And it may also help that that suppleness in that right lateral bend as well through the ribs.
So in the pirouette we saw it bunny jump behind, kind of change legs, change back.
expensive place to get a little bit of tightness too, unfortunately. Those pirouettes carry a coefficient. Better in the hind leg.
Yeah, much better job. She's trending on 66. In correct sequence.
Probably like to see a little bit more jump, maybe a bit more expression.
Yeah, kind of. They were careful changes. Yeah. And this is an expressive horse, and the expression wasn't as good as she got a bit more here in the threes.
Yeah.
This I want to see. I like the fact she goes, but I want to see it stay more up as it goes. A score for Jessica Durtell and Gladstone MH of 67.99% and third position currently. Circling the arena. Our third last competitor in this class, Brianna Pekanak, riding Haberfield Peregrine. Haberfield Peregrine is by Leburnan Park Piccadilly and ridden by Brianna, and I think probably that means also owned by Brianna.
Yeah, it could have just been a little bit more off the forehand into that halt. At this level, I think we're really expecting a little bit more lightness and self-carriage, and that halt is the tester of exactly that. Probably just a little bit more hurried than extending, just losing a little bit of that air time or lacking a little bit of air time? Not quite establishing that shoulder in.
Yeah, that's kind of a wandering line. And more suppleness on the circle and into the half pass. And the circle is there to help you set up into the half pass. And if the circle is falling around, so too will the half pass.
I think we probably have to have a little look at riders' aids as well and make sure that we do regular checks, you know, is our inside leg on the girth and is our outside leg actually behind the girth? Because I think sometimes when we do a lot of shoulder in against the wall, I think our outside leg has a little bit of a holiday, and it doesn't necessarily come into action on the circle then. So, you know, maybe little exercises or a little bit of travers on a circle and really try and accentuate that lateral bend. Especially for horses that, you know, are not big and scopy and 17 hands. These little guys, they can afford to be a little bit more supple as well. They've still got to produce the same work as the big horses. So I think that suppling work needs to be done. A little bit more energetic, eh, Jill?
Yes.
More marching.
Marching. Walk is a marching pace of 4 beats. And so,
Showing purpose.
You know, marching is a great mindset to have when you're walking your horse. I am marching, whether I'm collected walk or if I'm extended walk, I'm still marching.
And I think the pirouette sort of, that first one, that one was a big improvement. The first one sort of showed us about that lack of energy forward, that lack of desire, because the pirouette was backwards. But the second one was certainly a marked improvement on the first one. Same here again, just more life, more energy, more purpose.
Yeah, I love an analogy, and I always say to people, it's like you're hurrying for the bus, you know, but you don't want to actually run, but you've got to get there. So you take big strides purposefully. A man on a mission, or a woman on the mission, for that matter.
I think a bit like Christine and I going to breakfast in the morning.
Definitely a mission.
Same thing here, just lacking that suppleness and that lateral bend. Expression in the change, everything just needs that little step up in the energy and life and purpose department.
Okay, so just running out of steam in pirouettes, and really symptomatic of general needing more collection and togetherness. You can't do a pirouette unless you have power and control.
And suppleness.
And suppleness.
But I think the power helps to create the suppleness because of the whole physical exertion.
Just a mistake at the end of the 3 times. So there's costly errors, but most of the errors in this case really just come from, well, you know, potentially rider error as well, but in the training of the horse, a better connection from the back end into the front end. and a halt fairly square to finish.
So I was correct. He is from a Newfoundland pony stud in Victoria. New Forest pony stud. So that's why he's a little bit of a different shape, and he's also probably getting a good crack considering he's not a purpose-bred dressage horse, but we do have to judge it as we see it.
Our next rider, second to last to come in, will be Kate Kiros, riding Intro K. Intro K is 10 years old, a Dutch stallion by Apache, and owned and ridden by Kate Kiros.
Just sitting here watching and enjoying it. He's very elegant, isn't he? Just like to say, give me a ride. Oh dear.
Yeah, lovely type, and nicely then into the shoulder end left, maintaining the rhythm well. Also around the circle.